Assalamu alaikum, dear student. This is lecture number 3 of week number 9, and we are discussing the viscous flow in pipe. So far the component of learning objective we have covered. The number 1 is the identify and understand various characteristics of the flow in pipes. We have already discussed the main properties of laminar and turbulent flow and appreciate their characteristics. Okay, so we have covered up to here. Now today we are going to discuss calculate losses in straight portion of pipes as well as those in various pipe system components. So to cover this part of the learning objective, the topics we are going to cover today are the pressure and shear stress, fully developed laminar flow, and derivation of average velocity is equals to half of the maximum velocity in laminar flow, and pressure distribution along straight pipe. Okay, there is a pressure drop we are going to calculate if the pipe is straight, and we are also going to calculate the pressure drop when the pipe is inclined. So let's talk about the pressure and shear stress, because how the pressure and shear stress are related together. So flow in horizontal pipe is driven by a pressure difference. As we have already discussed the pipe flow. In the pipe flow we have discussed already the fluid flow only because of the difference of pressure. Okay, so in the horizontal pipe in the horizontal pipe the fluid is driven only due to the pressure difference. Okay, so non-zero pressure gradient is a result of a viscous effect. Okay, if there is a pressure, the non-zero pressure gradient is only due to the viscous effect. If the fluid is viscous, the pressure gradient you will get it. Okay, if viscosity were zero, if the fluid is ideal fluid, the pressure would not vary with the x-axis. There is no energy loss. But if there is a viscous effect, there is a energy loss in the pipe. But if the viscosity is zero, that means there is no energy loss. So work done by pressure force is needed to overcome the viscous dissipation of energy through the fluid. So what will happen? The work is done by the pressure that will be reduced by the effect of viscous force. Okay, so that reduction of energy we have to calculate. Okay, in fully developed flow, that means in the fully developed flow means the fully developed laminar or turbulent flow region, viscous force exactly balance pressure force. Okay, so in the fully developed region we basically face two kind of forces. One is the pressure force and other is the viscous force, and these two forces balance each other. The fluid flows with no acceleration since there is no change in velocity after the fully developed region that we have discussed. Del u by del x is 0. So in that case there is no change in velocity, so there is no acceleration. That means there is no inertia force. Okay, so because of that, no acceleration. So in non-fully developed flow region, okay, in the non-fully developed flow region means you can see. So this is the portion we have separated. This is the entrance region, which is called the developing region or not fully developed region, and from here to here it is fully developed region. Okay, so in non fully developed region, what we have in the non fully developed region, the flow regions fluid accelerates or decelerates. Sorry, not off, it is or decelerates. The velocity profile changes. Since the velocity profile changes, that means there is an acceleration. If there is acceleration, that means there is an inertia force. Okay, so thus in the entrance region there is the balance between pressure, viscous and inertia force. So in that case we faces three kind of forces. Okay, and because of that, what happens? The magnitude of the pressure gradient dp by dx is larger in the entrance region than in the fully developed region, where it is constant dp by dx. So let's see here. In the entrance region you can see the the pressure gradient you can see here, it is not constant. Okay, it is varying because of the varying velocity profile, because the velocity profile is not constant in this region. Because of that, you can see there is a three kind of forces, that is pressure force, inertia force, and the acceleration. Due to the acceleration there is a inertia force, and because of that we have the varying pressure drop in this region. But when we come to the fully developed region, from here to here, you can see the pressure drop is constant. Okay, the magnitude of the pressure gradient is constant, but here the magnitude of the pressure gradient is varying in that region because of the three different forces. Okay, so here we can write down in the developing region, the pressure drop, del P by del X. Okay, what is the meaning of del P by del X? That means from here to here, from this point to this point, the drop from X2 to X3. Okay, that is, if it is, we are calling L. Okay, so the pressure drop from point 2 to point 3 is del P divided by in which length this pressure is dropping. It's from X2 to X3. So the difference between X2 X3 is equals to L. Okay, since the pressure is drop, that's why we are getting a negative sign, because it is loss in energy, it is drop in pressure. Okay, because here at point 2 the pressure is higher and at point 3 the pressure is lesser. So if you take a higher minus in a final minus initial, so you will get a minus sign. Okay, so here definitely this pressure drop is very small. So when you divide with L, so you will get this value always less than 0. Okay, see, because this you are getting, because the change in velocity, there is no acceleration in this part, so there is no inertia force in that part, and there is the inertia force in that part. Because of that we are getting non-uniform pressure drop. Okay, so here we can go further. So this is the meaning we discussed here. So laminar flow differs from turbulent due to different nature of shear stress in laminar and turbulent flow, because the shear stress in the laminar and turbulent flow are different. Because of that, their velocity profile is different. So now we are going to talk about the fully developed laminar flow. So we are going to separate now the fully developed laminar flow and fully developed turbulent flow. So first we are going to discuss the fully developed laminar flow in this chapter. So probably I will not going to discuss the fully developed turbulent flow in this part. Okay, I will just focus on the fully developed laminar flow. So in the case of fully developed laminar flow, what we can achieve, so velocity profile is fully developed flow in the same at any cross section of the pipe. So once in the fully developed region, once the flow is fully developed laminar, so that means the velocity profile is remain same. Okay, so if the velocity profile is known, so if you know the velocity profile in the fully developed region, so what you can achieve, if you know the velocity profile is known, other flow information such as pressure drop, head loss, flow rate, and like can be obtained. So what is pressure drop? Just I explained to you the energy loss while the water is flowing in the pipe due to the viscous effect. Okay, so that loss is basically we indicate in the form of pressure drop. Okay, and the pressure drop can be measured in the form of height, so such loss is called head loss. And flow rate, we all are aware Q is equals to VA, the strength the fluid is flowing in the pipe, okay, in a particular cross section, and other information can also be obtained. Okay, so detail of the velocity profile are different for laminar and turbulent flow. Definitely it is. Equation for velocity profile in fully developed laminar flow and other important results can be derived. So now we are going to derive an equation for the fully developed laminar fully developed velocity profile for the laminar flow. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we are going to develop a equation for velocity profile in the fully developed laminar flow, because how the velocity profile can be described in the form of an equation. Okay, so there are three ways to find out the equation of velocity profile. The first of all is the force is equals to ma applied directly to the fluid element. Other way is the Navier-Stokes equation of the motion, and third way is to find out the dimension analysis. So we are going to take the first one. Okay, this we will discuss, and rest of the part we are not going to discuss here. Okay, so regardless of the method used, the results are same. So whatever the method you will use, the result will be same. So now here we are going to discuss the laminar flow in pipe using F is equals to ma. So laminar flow, that means in the fully developed region. Okay, so in this section we consider the steady laminar flow of an incompressible fluid with constant properties in the fully developed region of a straight circular pipe. So this is a straight circular pipe. Okay, so this cross section is also circular. You can imagine this small particle, okay, that we have taken from here, it is also circular. Okay, the cross section of this pipe is circular. Don't consider it is rectangle. The front view of this cross section is look like a rectangle. Okay, so in fully developed laminar flow, each fluid particle moves at a constant axial velocity along a streamline. Okay, the velocity del u by del x is equals to constant. Okay, so there is no change along a streamline and no motion in the radial direction, such that no acceleration since flow is steady and fully developed. Okay, that we are fully understood. So now consider a ring shaped differential volume element of a radius r, thickness dr and length dx oriented coaxially with the pipe. A force balance on the volume element in the flow direction gives. Okay, so we have taken a ring shape. Okay, so volume element, this is a ring shape. You see this is a hollow from here. The thickness of this is dr. Okay, and this is a complete circle. Okay, the from here to here the radius is r. You can see the radius is r, and from here to here the total radius of the pipe is r, and the velocity profile is a function of radius only. Okay, is not a function of x, it's only the function of r. Okay, but in the x direction we have same profile, the profile is not changing. So at this point the velocity is maximum from this point to this point, and rest the remaining component you can see it's a less than that. So the maximum velocity is at the center where r is equals to 0. Okay, so now we have taken a small fluid element. The width of the fluid element, the length of the fluid element is dx, and the thickness of the fluid element is dr, and the radius from here to here is r, small r. Okay, so now what are the forces acting on it? So as we have discussed, in the fully developed region we have two kind of forces. One is the pressure force, okay, that which is always acting perpendicular to the surface. Okay, and because this is the fluid element and this is the surface, the pressure force is acting in this direction, and the pressure force is acting in this direction after traveling a distance dx. This is the fluid element. So here it is px, and here it is px plus dx. Okay, and this is the shear force. Okay, this is the shear force at the surface of the at the surface. At the bottom is tr in the radial direction, and this is the pressure force. Okay, this is the shear force, that is tr plus dr. Okay, so here basically we are not indicating in the form of force, this is in the form of pressure, and this is in the form of shear stress. So now we, to apply F is equals to ma, we have to convert these pressure and shear stress in the form of force. So the force is equals to the pressure is equals to force per unit area, per unit perpendicular area. Okay, so here what is the perpendicular area for the pressure, that we can see, and what is the perpendicular area for this shear stress that we will see. Okay, so here basically the pressure force. Okay, so what is the pressure force for this? Okay, so what is the pressure force? So P is the pressure in this direction, in x direction, and this is the area. So what is the area? Area of cross section you can see here. Okay, this is the face. This is the face. So at this face basically the pressure is acting. So what is this? This is 2 pi r into dr, the thickness. If you open up, you will see. So the pressure is acting in this face. So what is this face? The 2 pi r multiplied by dr. So here you can see basically it will show you like a rectangle. Okay, when you open up, it will show you a rectangle. So the circumference of this circle is 2 pi r, and the width of it is dr. So this is the area, and the area for the both side is the same. Okay, so now for the shear stress is always acting tangential to its surface, or it's always acting parallel to its surface. So this is the surface, this is the surface where shear stress is acting. Okay, this is the surface. So what is the area for the shear stress? Shear stress is basically acting on this surface. So this is dx, and this is 2 pi r. So shear force is acting in this surface, and the pressure force is acting on this surface. Okay, so the surface area for this whole circular fluid element is 2 pi r into dx. Okay, and since it is opposite in direction, so it's going to be minus, because this is positive x-axis, this is negative x-axis, this is positive x-axis, this is negative x-axis. Okay, so here we have write down the equation, okay, in the form of pressure, and when we simplified it, we got this equation. How? You dividing whole equation by 2 pi dr dx. Okay, so finally you got this equation after rearranging them. So you put the px to p term one side and shear stress term one side. So here you can see at the center the shear stress is minimum, and at the bottom the shear stress is maximum. Okay, so this is basically the shear stress and velocity profile diagram. So in the case of shear stress, you can see this is a tau. Shear stress is 0 at the center and a maximum at the surface. Here the velocity profile is maximum at the center and minimum at the minimum or 0 at the surface. Okay, and this is for the viscous flow. Okay, this is for the viscous flow, and this is for the inviscid flow, for the non-viscous flow. In the non-viscous flow, basically we consider average velocity. The average velocity what we see, Vc by 2, and this is basically called Vc, the maximum velocity from here to here, and the average velocity is equal to V is equal to Vc by 2. That we will prove later on. Okay, so let's say move forward. So now taking the limit as dr dx approaches to 0, since the element is very small, so what will happen? So this will become the change. Okay, so we are considering the change. This is going to be dpx by dx, and this is basically this is change. Okay, so what is change? RT. So dr tau over dr. Okay, so this will become change. Okay, this is a limiting condition. So this will become dp by dx, okay, instead of px minus pdx dx, and this will also become d by dr. Okay, so now substituting tau is because we know the law of shear stress. Okay, if you take this term to the other side, okay, if you take this term other side, because we know tau is equals to, according to Newton law of viscosity, according to Newton law of viscosity, tau is equals to mu multiplied by the velocity gradient. Okay, so this is the velocity gradient. So we are going to replace this tau with this equation. Okay, so this equation will become here. Okay, so this will come to the other side, so it will become positive. So dp over dx will become this term. Okay, So the left side of the equation is the function of r. Okay, this is the function of r, we can see, and the right side is the function of x, and this is the function of x. That means the pressure is dropped along the x-axis. Whenever you travel along the pipe, the pressure will drop. Okay, and the velocity is varying along the radius. So it is very obvious. So the equality must hold for any value of r and x. Therefore, function of r is equals to gx is equals to constant. Basically, this is indicating your a dimensionless number, or we can also solve this equation by using a dimensional analysis. Okay. So here finally we can write down dp over dx is equals to 2 tau over r. Thus, we conclude that dp over dx is equals to constant, and we can verify that dv over dx is equals to minus d tau over r. Okay. So this we can prove that by we have proved this statement in the picture here, you can see, and we stated that at any point, okay, these two terms, okay, these two functions are equal at any point. Okay, how? Let's see, this is a fully developed region. In the fully developed region, okay, this we have taken a small element which is dx, and this is the shear stress are acting at this point. So shear stress acting at this point is same at radius r. This is the radius from here to here is r. So what is the shear stress here? Tau, because whatever is the shear stress at the wall, so tau w is the shear stress at the wall. And what is the surface area here? The surface area here is 2 pi r into dx. Okay, so this is the total surface area over this shear stress is acting. Okay, and this is the pressure force acting. Okay, so this is the pi r square, the radius is r on the total fluid element, and here pi square r into p plus dp. Okay, so it is going to be clear. So this we are considering the total cross section. The total cross section is pi r square into p, and from if you change at distance dx, the pressure is going to be little bit change, that will be equal to this. Okay, so we applied the force balance equation. After force balance equation, after simplifying that, we got dp over dx is equals to minus 2 tau over r. This basically we are indicating here. Here tau w is the constant, since the viscosity and the velocity profile are constant in the fully developed region. Okay, then we solve the ur equation by rearranging and integrating it twice. Okay, so what we have done now, so go back to the previous slide and see. Basically here we have the value of u, so we have to find out the ur in the form of equation. Okay, so here is the velocity, so we are going to rearrange this equation. We take integration twice. Okay, take r and mu to the other side. If you take r and mu to the other side, so what will happen? R and mu will come bottom, and if you take integration twice to this equation, if you take integration twice to this equation, what will happen? First time this derivative will be over. Okay, and then because this is the function of, so finally you will get this equation. And after applying the boundary conditions, when you apply these two boundary conditions, then you will find out the value of these two constant. Okay, first you do first integration and get the value of C1, and then get the value of C2. Okay, so in both the case, when you will put the values, finally you will get the equation in this form. So here you can see, therefore the velocity profile in fully developed laminar flow in a pipe is parabolic. So this is the second degree equation, and you can see a parabolic equation. Okay, since u is positive for any radius r, thus dp over dx must be negative. Okay, so since definitely the velocity is positive because it's continuously, it is positive for any value of r, that's dp over dx must be okay, negative. So pressure must be decreased in the flow direction because of viscous effect, okay, that we have already discussed. The average velocity is determined from, so we know that the average velocity, how we take that, whatever is the total velocity we divide by 12. So this is the total velocity. So when we divide, this is the total velocity when we divide with 2, okay, so this is the average velocity. When we divide the average velocity with 2, so we will get, so this is when you divide this velocity with 2, okay, because this is the velocity profile, this is the total velocity, okay. So when we divide this by 2, so we will get average velocity. So average velocity is equals to, when you divide this equation with the 2, so finally you will get, this is just simplify that, okay, just simplify that. So you will get average velocity is equals to twice of this. How it is? So just see, if you divide this by 2, what will happen, and you take, because this is for the small element, when you take the integration from 0 to r, what will happen? When you put the when you put the upper limit, what will happen? And when you will upper limit, if you put instead of r, so this will become r square, it will become 1. So they will, it will be 1 minus 1 equal to 0, the whole component will be 0. So in the case of upper limit, the whole factor will be 0, but in the case of lower limit, when you put the 0 here, so this will become 1 and it will multiply it with the whole term, okay. So the u r, okay, divided by 2, this will become 8, okay, 8 mu, this will become r square, and this will become dp by dx. This exactly we have done here, okay. So if you divide this whole equation by 2, so finally when you apply, this is for the small element, when you integrate the whole equation, okay, with from 0 to r, you will end up with this limit. So that means average velocity will be equal to minus r square over 8 mu into dp by dx. So here finally we can write down the velocity profile is written as u r is equals to 2 average 1 minus r square over r square. So how we can write down? So here is equals to u r, just simplified this term, okay. So here it is r square 8 mu. So if you multiplied this term with 2 and 2, so this will become 8 mu r square dp by dx. So you can replace this r square 8 mu dp by dx with the v average velocity. So this will become u r is equals to 2 v average 1 minus r square over r square. So here we can write down, okay. So thus we can write down u maximum is equals to twice of average velocity, or v average is equals to half of the u maximum, okay. So therefore the average velocity in fully developed laminar flow is 1/2 of the maximum velocity, okay. So this is basically we have proved that. So because where is the maximum velocity? Maximum velocity at r is equals to 0. So if you put r is equals to, because if you take u is equals to maximum, so u is equals to maximum at r is equals to 0, so u max r is equals to 0, the whole term will be 0. So the v u max will be equal to 2 average, okay, twice of average velocity. So this we have proved that. Now we are going to talk about how to calculate the pressure drop along the pipe, okay. So how basically this pressure drop is the energy loss, okay, due to the viscous effect. So the pressure drop delta P of a pipe flow is related to the power requirement of the fan or pump to maintain flow. Since dP by dx is equals to constant and integrate from x to x1 where the pressure is P1, and okay, so at point x1 the pressure is P1, and at point x plus x1 plus L, after traveling a distance L, the pressure become P2. So the change in pressure will be equal to dP over dx is equals to P2 minus PL. So let's see in a previous picture. So here you can see, consider this is a fully developed flow, consider this is the point 1. So at point 1 the pressure is P1, okay, at point 1 the pressure is P1. This is point 2. At point 2 the pressure is P2, okay. So that means this point, this from here, from x1 to x2 the distance is L, okay. So this x2 can be written as x1 plus L, okay. So the difference between x2 minus x1 will become L. So we can write down del P over del X is equals to P2 minus P1. Okay, so let's move on to the previous equation. So we can write down dp over dx is equals to P2 minus P1. Okay, so we are not checking that which one is less, which one is small. So always we take the difference final minus initial. Okay, so thus the pressure drop for laminar flow can be expressed as del P is equals to P1 minus P2 is equals to, this is the value. So how we got this value? Let's move on to the previous slide. So basically we have derived that portion from here. You can see this is del P. Okay, this is dx, that is basically L, and this is del P. So take this 8 mu to the other side, take this r square to here. So this will become del P over L will become is equals to r square V average over 8 mu minus, okay, yani 8 mu into V average divided by r square. Okay, so this will become, move to other side, so del P will be equal to this value. Okay, so here you can see 8 mu into L into V average over r square. So replace this with diameter of the pipe, so this will become 32 mu L V average into d square. So this is the value of pressure drop that we can calculate for any length L. Okay, for any length L we can calculate. So del P due to the viscous effect represents an irreversible pressure loss, and it is called pressure loss del PL to emphasize that is a loss. So this loss is basically irreversible. When it is lost, we cannot regain it. Okay, so to calculate the size of the pump, we always calculate the size of this loss. Okay, to work against this work done. Okay, so here this is the pressure drop we can calculate by using this equation, and the pressure drop represents the pressure loss del PL, no viscosity, no loss. If there is no viscosity, so that means del PL is equal to 0. In practice, it is found convenient to express the pressure loss for all type of fully developed internal flow as. So pressure drop we can also represent in this form of friction factor, that is F. So that can also be written in this form. If and del rho V square over Ag is equals to is a dynamic pressure, and F is the Darcy friction factor. Okay, where F is equals to 8 tau viscosity divided by rho V square over Ag. So we modified this equation. So we modified this equation little bit. Okay, and finally we got this equation for the pressure drop. Okay, so this is the main equation to find out the pressure drop or to find out the friction factor, and by using this equation we can calculate any type of we can calculate any pressure drop in any type of flow. Okay, or any type of pipe cross section. Okay, so it is also called the Darcy-Weck friction factor, named after the Frenchman Henry Darcy. Okay, so here the pressure drop can also be how we can calculate the value of friction factor. It should not be confused with the friction coefficient CF. There is another scientist who basically predict that how to calculate the value of friction factor. Okay, so that is F by 4. CF is equals to F by 4. The friction factor for fully developed laminar flow in a circular pipe, F is equals to 64 over Reynolds number, or 64 mu over rho d V average. Okay, for the fully developed laminar flow, if you know all these values, you can calculate F. Okay, so that means if you know F, if you know length, del, and all this term, you can calculate the pressure loss. Okay, or the head loss. Okay, so this is basically the definition of friction factor. In the analysis of piping system, pressure losses are commonly expressed in terms of equivalent of fluid column, okay, height, called the head loss. Okay, so what is the head loss? Whenever we express the pressure loss in terms of equivalent fluid of column, okay, of height, called the head loss. So this can be replaced, this delta P can be delta P over rho G. Bring this rho and multiply it with the G, so delta P over rho G will become H. So here you can see delta P over rho G will become H. So we replace this term with the H. So all the values, all the final values we will get, that will come in the form of height, in the form of meter, feet, inches. Okay, so friction loss due to viscosity. Okay, so pressure drop, once we find out the pressure loss is known, the required pumping power to overcome the pressure drop is determined. Okay, so if you know the pressure drop, after that you can find easily, so what is the size of the pump or the motor you will be required to push the water from that particular length of pipe. Okay, if you have 100-meter length of pipe, so how much power of pump you will be required to push the water through 100-meter length of pipe. So that you can calculate by using this formula. So this is the work done by the pump for that particular length is equals to volume flow rate. This is volume flow rate multiplied by the pressure drop that you have calculated in the form of head. Okay, or this is delta P, or this is in the form of head. Okay, delta P into L can be replaced with this equation. Okay, so here, and rho G, you know that the rho G is equals to mass, and this will become mass flow rate. Okay, because this is equals to AV, or when you multiply it with the mass, this will become mass flow rate into G into head loss. Okay, so you can calculate the pumping power by using this. So you will get the unit in the form of watts. Okay, so the average velocity for laminar flow in horizontal pipe, this is the average velocity that we have already derived. Okay, previously I have explained to you how we got that. Okay, the volume flow rate of laminar flow through a horizontal pipe, that we can calculate. Okay, that we can calculate by using this formula. If you know all, you can calculate this is basically all the conversion. If you know any of these values, if you know the pressure drop, you can calculate the volume flow rate. If you know the all these values, you can calculate the volume flow rate. You know diameter, you know radius, you can calculate the volume flow rate. Okay, so this equation, this particular equation for the volume flow rate is called Poiseuille's law. So this equation is known as Poiseuille's law, and this flow is called the Hagen-Poiseuille flow. So this is basically this volume flow rate is equals to this quantity is called a Poiseuille's law. Okay, so today is, so in the portion of the pressure drop and head loss, by using the Poiseuille's law, we can predict that the pumping power is directly proportional to the viscosity of the fluid and length of the pipe through which the fluid to be flow, and inversely proportional to 4th time of the diameter. Okay, so this, in that case, we can write down the equation. Okay, so when we simplify, we can also find out the pumping power if you know only the flow rate. If you don't know the pressure drop, but you know all those values, you can calculate the pumping power. So the pressure drop and the head loss. So this is the Bernoulli equation for the two different points, and we can write down the Bernoulli equation for point 1 and point 2. Okay, so here the pressure drop, the velocity, and the height, okay, and the pumping power at point 1. Okay, because to push the water, the pump should be installed at point 1, and at point 2, the pressure at point 2, the velocity at point 2, the height at point 2, height of the outlet at point 2, and definitely the other side, the pressure drop is in the turbine. Okay, or there is some other losses, the fittings or some other losses are also included into the other side. Okay, so this is the Bernoulli equation, can be written in this form. Okay, if you simplify this equation, so P1 minus P2, the difference in pressure will be equal to this is in the form of delta. Okay, so this is the value you can this is the formula you can utilize to find out the pressure drop as well. Okay, and here you can see some of the components, Z1 and Z2. If the pipe is horizontal, definitely Z1 and Z2 will be same. Okay, from the datum, so it's going to be neglected. okay, and here alpha and alpha 2, okay. If there is no kinetic energy loss for the laminar flow, okay, for the laminar flow alpha 1 and alpha 2 will be equal to 1, okay. In that case it is going to be same, but if it is not same, so it will have some values, so that definitely the velocity will increase if it is in the non-developed region, okay. And H turbine, if the turbine is connected to the other side, so we know the pressure drop in the turbine, or we can calculate, and the pressure drop of the size of the pressure. So by using this we can calculate the head loss in the pressure pump, okay. So this is basically the brief about the pressure drop and the head loss in the straight pipe. So next we will talk about the pressure drop and head loss in the inclined pipe, okay. So this is the end of the lecture today.